Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Nissan 370Z Nismo, purportedly the worst car in Asphalt 9, but let's see how it does in multiplayer. It's at rank 1662, completely maxed with everything applied to it, and so let's see how this car that no one ever expected me to really test can do against some higher ranked cars, like for example, 2 HURACAN Evo Spiders in this race. But first let me explain why I and the other people who helped me work on the best and worst cars in each class list decided to put this car at the very bottom of Class D, essentially giving it the official title of worst car in Asphalt 9. Well, it has one of the lowest top speeds in the entire game, its nitro efficiency is not especially good, its handling is not especially good, and its acceleration is not especially good. And that's for Class D. The real problem for this car is not necessarily that it drives badly, it's actually not horrible to drive. It just does not have any qualities that make it stand out anywhere, really. When compared to the other low-end D-Class cars, the Lancer and Camaro both have better nitro efficiency and top speed than this car, and the BMW Z4 has quite a bit better acceleration. And so because of those cars' relative strengths, they pull out ahead on certain different tracks above each other, but this one just doesn't really pull ahead anywhere, because it has no specific good traits at all, even for Class D. Sort of think of it as the J50 of Class D. If you haven't seen my J50 video, you should definitely check that out. It's sort of like that car that embodies mediocrity, although this one comes pretty close to that as well. All that being said, and you probably noticed this in the J50 video as well, a mediocre car can still do okay when it's number 1, driven well, and number 2, its opponents make mistakes. Like in this race, the HURACAN behind me, yes that's a HURACAN believe it or not, wrecked back there, and thus I'm able to finish ahead of him, thus beating a HURACAN in the worst car in the game. How about that? Although the one that didn't wreck did beat us by a long shot, but we did come in quite far ahead of all those other Nismos back there. Now let's see how we can do against not 1, but 2 4-star Lotus Elises, which has better stats than me in every single way. Top speed is slightly better, everything else is way better. One of them went to the right. I thought he was going to drop off and then go in the ship like a lot of people do, but instead he continued going straight and jumped over the ramp there over to the left side. That way is very long, do not go that way, because that literally is what allowed me to catch up, well, pretty much to him, and then he goes the other way over there, which is longer as well. He's just taken all the long ways, and thus I do manage to come into first place. So we've got him behind me as well as that other Lotus Elise who is catching up. Let's see if we can stay ahead. The thing is, if you are in first place somehow, doesn't matter how, but if you somehow get in first place against some people who have better agility and all that stuff, but the same top speed, or maybe just slightly better, as long as there aren't a whole bunch of turns and stuff on the map where you're going to lose speed, you're probably going to be able to win. Because see here, these Lotus Elises, even though their acceleration, nitro efficiency, and the handling are much better, I mean, they can't catch up because they don't have much better speed. And therefore, that is why I am maintaining first place here. Oh, and I forgot to mention earlier, there's another reason why this is the worst car in the game. You can't make it purple. Like the Nissan GTR, you can't do that as well, but this one is bad in every way, including the color. I think that may be due to the licensing agreement the Gameloft has with Nissan to put their cars in the game. Nissan stipulated that there couldn't be custom colors or something. The only other thing like this in the game that I can think of is I believe it's all Ferrari cars. You cannot change the color of the rims, so that's a little weird. Little bits of licensing things. So here we do come in first place ahead of these 2 Lotus Elises, and one Nissan, another one, beats one of those Lotuses, and that poor 1-star Porsche Cayman comes in last. Now that track back there, Scotland, is not one where the super agile cars tend to do super good on because it has a lot of straightaways and things like that, but let's see what will happen on US Midwest on one of the tracks where there are actually quite a few twists and turns. And in this race, we are facing 3 Lotus Elises. One of them is at 4-star, and 2 of them, I believe, are at 3-star. They haven't managed to catch up around the twists and turns that we've had so far, and I am trying to go around without drifting and stuff to be able to stay in my top speed. And I am making use of that brake nitro trick, which I will definitely go over in my updated how to go fast video, or videos. I'm not entirely sure how I want to do that yet. But if you do not know what it is, how it is done, or what it is used for, let me briefly explain. Basically, it is done by when you are in the single nitro, the yellow nitro, quickly do brake nitro, brake nitro, brake nitro, about like that, and basically what it does is it extends your nitro duration without losing you much speed if you do it right. Now that can only really be done on straights, because if you brake when turning, you're going to start drifting, which slows you down, and that's not so great of an idea in that case. Somewhere else this technique is quite useful is on maintaining speed upon landing from jumps, because when you are in the air, you get a 33% increase in your speed, but when you land, it goes back to your top speed rather quickly. One way you can sort of extend your airspeed upon landing is by doing that brake nitro, brake nitro, brake nitro trick rather quickly, but not so fast as to do a 360, and you will keep higher speed upon landing for a little bit. Thanks to Afik for finding out that trick. I seem to accidentally rhyme all of the time. Okay, I'll stop now. So we did beat all those Lotuses in that race, but in this race, how will we do against a 4-star Elise as well as 3 Porsche Caymans? Now, the Cayman is currently the 3rd best car in D-Class behind the Hemi and the Shelby. However, the 2 new cars which were added in the summer update, which will be the Jetta G60 and the Porsche 911 Targa S, I believe, they will probably be the new kings of D-Class. The Jetta on shorter and twistier tracks, and the Targa on longer and more top speed oriented tracks. If you would like to see the stats of those cars, definitely check them out in my recent update video. After all the new cars in this update are tested, I do plan to make an updated best and worst cars in each class video, because there's definitely going to be some new kings in this update. So we've settled in pretty nicely to 2nd position here, with this Elise ahead of us and the Caymans and actually another Nismo behind us. Now, when you're in this sort of situation where there is a car with about the same speed but much more agile ahead of you, you're really not going to be able to catch up to him unless he makes a sort of mistake, or you just drive a lot better than he does in general. So I was not really expecting to be able to catch up to this car by the end of the race, but I also knew that those Porsche Caymans back there, while they may be slightly faster than me, were already off the map, and we're nearly 9/10 of the way through the race, nearly to the finish line. And so what I expected to happen did in fact happen, and here I'm using that little brake nitro trick to keep some more speed upon landing, and here we do come in 2nd. Once you've got enough races under your belt, you can sort of predict earlier on in the race what position you are going to end up in, just based on how far ahead or behind you are of certain people, your past experiences with maybe the people you are facing, and perhaps other things about the race as well. Now, of course, there always can be mistakes made by you or made by other people, or they can get physicsed or something crazy like that. Yeah, of course you cannot predict with complete accuracy, but it is quite fun to sometimes try, especially when you are getting a little bit bored with the races. Which in the case of this car, I actually was not. I always have fun when I'm testing underdog cars, because I always enjoy seeing just how they can do against those ones that are definitely better cars in terms of event times, because in multiplayer anything can happen. I did not go into this recording thinking that I would beat a HURACAN in this car. Of course, it is important to have a good garage. You can definitely get easier wins if your cars are better. That probably goes without saying. But driver skill is also a very important part of multiplayer, because little things, like for example, back there, I used nitro across the off-road bit that Elise did it. That allowed me to get ahead of him. Little things like that can allow you to beat the higher ranked cars with people that may not know as many tricks and things as you. So that is why definitely it is to your advantage to learn as much as possible, no matter what cars you have in your garage. And that is why I definitely want to make these how to go fast sort of tutorial videos about the game to help you guys succeed no matter what sort of cars that you may have. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Now in this race we've come in 3rd, behind 2 Lotus Elises, but ahead of 3 Caymans and another Lotus Elise, as well as a Nismo. A lot of the other Nismos I faced in this video did not do so great. Now for the final race in the video, in which we are on one of my least favorite tracks for multiplayer. I think it's called Tiber Stream, but it's this one with all of the flat spinny things at the beginning where a bunch of people usually get knocked down and I'm usually the first one, and sometimes the only one. There, however, we do a really cool stunt. We go up here, and that was actually one of the best starts that I've actually ever gotten on this map, and we're now into 3rd place. In this race, we are facing 3 Lotus Elises, 2 Lotus Evoras, and a Porsche Cayman, which is 4-starred. Every car in this race, except for one Elise, was above 2000 rank. So if I had got knocked down at the beginning, it would probably have been all over for me. But here we are in 3rd place, catching up somehow to this Elise here. Of course, because of his better handling, he manages to get through this part here, which is a part I really don't like, quite a bit better than I did, and thus he manages to get further ahead. But not everything is done yet. You see, this Elise had made a mistake. He is constantly drifting to get nitro, which is definitely not a good thing to do when you are in a car with such good agility as that one that can stay at top speed pretty much no matter what you do. And it turns out that the Nismo's handling is good enough that I was able to pass him on the inside around there, and even though we got slowed down a good bit, we got some nitro at the perfect time with a perfect run to come in 2nd place with him just a few frames behind us. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 9 and Forza Horizon 4 content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!